how are you? How have you been doing? Long time no see, I get that, but I was kind of stuck in figuring out life in general. Yeah, life. Anyways, so empaths, empathy, more like sympathy, but it's very opposite. Sympathy in some way is toxic, and empathy is a blessing. It's a superpower, if I say so. Empaths and HSPs, these kind of people are one of the true blessing mankind could have. Because, as we are going ahead in life, as the time is passing by, as the days are passing by, the concept of emotions is becoming outdated, and that is a very sad story. Emotions is a human birthright. Humanizing yourself means how to feel, basically, because AI and humans, like robots and humans, what is the difference? It's the feeling, because robots are programmed for something. There are some automated replies, some reactions, some actions, they are coding, but they don't do it out of feeling. They do it out of some kind of script or something. Not a technical person, so no comments. But what makes a human is basically feeling things, feeling everything that you touch, you see, you talk to, you smell. And memories also, like memories are very much related with the feeling. If you don't feel at all, are you sure you're making memories in life? Because that is a big question mark. So yes, feeling is one of the strongest elements that humanize oneself. And that actually speaks about like we are alive because we still feel. And empaths on the top of that are like the peak of the mountain. Like emotions are on the rocks. Seriously. HSPs and empaths, they have really mastered the art of putting one foot into other's shoe. Like how does it actually feels like? So empathy is one of the greatest blessing we have. So a big shout out to all the empaths and HSPs all around the world. But then there comes the word balance, boundaries. So this video is majorly about empathy. Good. How much empathy is too much empathy? And when to know that it's time to stop. This is one of the most annoying point of toxic empathy. I mean, really, I hate this feature the most whenever there is an imbalance in empathy. Why every time you see something broken, some soul broken, and you just cross oceans for that thing with your toolbox in hand and just, I have to fix. This obsession, I really don't understand, because I have been through the same kind of addiction of fixing people. Like every time I see someone wounded, traumatized, some kind of hurting past or something, I just forget everything. I put aside everything and just run to that person and just do my best to fix that person. Because that is toxic. You may question why, because this is such a noble thing to do, such a pure thing to do, but no. See, there is a difference between empathy and toxic. Empathy is a very this little thing. Like, empathy means, yes, you're capable of feeling people's emotion. You're capable of feeling their pain, their trauma, yes. But healthy empathy means that you will support the person, you will provide your help only when you are being asked to do so. And that's where the toxic empathy differs. In toxic empathy, you don't, to hell with the consent, to hell with permission, to hell with even a person showed a little sign that he or she needs help. You just find a broken soul and you just go after him or her. And you fix them. You heal them. And there is a little catch point over here. Like, you ever heard of a thing like, you can only resonate to those things which you have experienced. That makes a lot of sense if you see. Like, you can only understand their wounds because you were equally wounded. You can only understand their pain because you're equally in pain. I get it, you're an empath. Empathy is an extra feature. Like, you have a set of features and then there comes empathy. It's an extra feature. God bless you. But if you're resonating so much with the other people's pain, that means it's a red flag. It's an SOS sign flashing. It's your soul that is flashing that sign that you're equally wounded. So if you're too much into people's wound, too much into people's hurt and their pain and their scar, you need to pause a little and think about it. Like, what if you need healing right now? Because you're obsessively resonating with other people's pain and you obsessively want to fix them. Because on the opposite, your soul is craving the same fixing and healing from you. Just think about it. Where there is light, there are bugs and moths. And when there is a light worker, so as being an empath, it is as being a toxic empath, as while practicing toxic empathy, nobody actually practices it. It happens when you do something too much, like without following the concept of balance. So when there is toxic empathy, it is a very common ritual to fall in love with an energy vampire. Energy vampires are basically, for me, in my experience, pure narcissist, to be very honest. There are many characters, there are many other categories also, but for me, I think majorly narcissists, gaslighters, manipulators. And all kind of empath, just I think toxic empathy, toxic empaths just love to be in relationship with these kind of people. And I think, yes, it makes a lot of sense, because when you practice imbalanced empathy, when the amount of empathy goes beyond a boundary, beyond a healthy boundary, when you over practice it, you're aggressively, your soul, your subconscious, aggressively finding someone who can literally, you have something to give. See, empaths are born as a giver. They literally give. They literally give and just give. Like, there are rare chances like empath literally demand something in return, but they're a giver. They are born giver. But when you are giving too much, you have something in an excessive amount, you have love and compassion in excessive amount, there are chances that you by default get attracted to something which is completely a void, hollow to the core. When you have something in really excessive amount, in imbalance amount, the energy needs to be balanced. So your soul by default fall in love with these kind of energy vampires, because you have lots and lots of energy, which is in the form of love and compassion. And all these narcissist energy vampires, these kind of hunters, just looking for you kind of person. And the funny thing about is, nobody is knowing actually consciously what they're doing. Neither the empath nor the energy vampire. Neither the empath knows like they are being attracted to a trap, nor the energy vampire knows that they are actually setting a trap. It's all is happening behind the screen, in the subconscious. And if you're out of your subconscious, there are high chances that you completely miss to see the red flags. On the both cases, like narcissists are completely in denial for their real characteristics, their real behavior, their core moral values. They're completely in denial of that. So let's keep narcissists aside. Empaths also don't know what they're doing, because that's why it is toxic empathy. See, it makes sense. If it's healthy empathy, that means you're completely in touch with your subconscious, you're completely in touch with yourself. But when you lose touch with yourself, when you lose touch with your intuition, then empathy turns into toxic empathy. And then there are chances that you fall in the trap of an energy vampire, a narcissist. I also just happen to be there in the trap, but I have really a lovely, amazing team of guardian angels and spirit guides. I just love them. But yes, I know how it feels to be immensely attracted towards a person thinking this is love. And then there is a famous quote I have read on some social media, Facebook or something like that. When you look into someone's eyes, I can't recall actually the exact words, but when you look into someone's eyes and your heart pounds, beats, something, and you forehead starts sweating and your heart beat really fast, there are high chances that that's not the one. Because when you're meant to be with someone, that person feels like home. That person doesn't feel like an incarnation of anxiety. That person feels like home. And when something feels like insecurity, anxiety, stress, chaos, that is not love. That is simply an attraction between a prey and a hunter. And the beauty of it is, neither the prey knows that it's a prey, nor the hunter knows it's a hunter. Nobody knows anything. Wounds, scars. I don't know, but these things bring so much meaning in life to an empath. And the sad thing is, they start to look at a wound with grace, as if it's something very precious, very meaningful, to a point where normal people, they start feeling like, as if they don't bring any meaning to the life. Normal people, normal life, happy people. When you practice over empathy, you started feeling like, really start to feel like you don't connect with normal thing anymore. Whoever act like normal is actually a very deceptive word. Normal is a very complicated, a very dicey word, because what normal to a spider is chaos to a fly. So normal word also differs from mouth to mouth, to person, but still, if we look around, still there is some sense of normal things when we look around. But after practicing over empathy, after being over empathetic to people, I don't know why normal thing feels like cringe. Like, oh my god, they're so normal, they're so shallow, they don't have the depths of life. No, that's not the case. Normal people do have depths of life. In fact, they have wounds also, but they have sorted it out very beautifully that they don't reflect it. But in unhealthy empathy, you get extremely attracted to those who reflect, who flaunt their wounds. They absorb their wounds. I don't know what's the word to put it, but wounds really attract an empath. Like, it's kind of sexy to them. I don't know, but yes. And I come across with a person when I am, I guess. I don't know, I have quit the habit yet. I'm still practicing some kind of over empathy. That's why this video is here. So I also noticed this thing, that whenever I see a wounded person, whenever I somehow sense this also. And yes, being an empath, your senses are really high, and even if the person is not speaking or speaking, you still sense it, that there is some heaviness, there is something that is hurting the person, the soul. And that is very great. It's great to a point where you're just using the information to understand. It's fine. But when you started getting attracted to it, then it's toxic empathy. When the things start making sense to you, let me tell you this very clearly. Often we judge people like they never got hurt, so they're really living a life on the bed of roses. They don't have any meanings of life. They don't have the depth in life. That is very wrong. You should never give grace to wounds. Let me tell you. The concept of grace is always applied on the results, on something what comes after, not to the process. Wounds is not something to flex. Wounds is not something to bring grace upon. Wounds is not something to be happy about. You're wounded. What's there to be happy about? But what you do with it, that is the deciding point. Like whether it is graceful or not. If you get even more broken, or you really understand the wisdom of healing. So wounds is not sexy. I'm just talking eye to an eye to an empath. I'm really looking into your eyes and really speaking it out loud that wounds are not sexy. Wounds are not something to look or find meaning into. That person is wounded. You offer your service. There it is. But getting emotionally invested to a point when you become wounded, that is really not a very wise practice to do so. That is really not wise. So toxic empathy is all about doing everything to an edge when you become the person that you're dealing with. That is what toxic empathy is. Empathy is like you're understanding very well. You're understanding everything they're saying. And the person also subconsciously understands that you are understanding. And there it is. There it is done. Your service is done. That you give a space to the person to express themselves really freely. That's a service. That's it. But after that, when you really get attached, you're emotionally invested to a point where your story and the person's story, there is no bridge, like you're just becoming them. You're just living their wounds. That is very toxic. Stop doing that ASAP. Boundaries. Boundaries are like dinosaurs to an empath. They don't exist. Actually, it's not like that. They do exist if someone is practicing healthy empathy. They do. They don't exist, or should I say, the boundaries go really out of control when you practice over empathy. And I'm telling this with my own experience, because at some point I wasn't healthy empathetic, but after being attached, really emotionally invested into a person, that thing really gone out of my control. The toxic empathy. So boundaries is something very flexible for an empath. And that is also another feature of an empath. Like, they really can manipulate their boundaries. It's not like, it's a myth that empaths don't know how to say no. No, we do. When we subconsciously know that we are not needed, we bring no good to the table. Like, if the person is already fine and doesn't need empathetic treatment or something like that. We maintain good boundaries, obviously, and it goes really well. But when you're actually in the middle of toxic empathy, and the minute you see a wounded person, a wounded soul, that very minute your subconscious really trigger you to get rid of all kind of boundaries, to dilute them completely. And that also you do with an idea in mind. I know, because I have done the same. I know how much you can relate with it, but I think you do, because with boundaries, deep down we know that we won't be able to fix or heal the person the way we can do without any boundaries. If the person, if we don't create a heart-to-heart connection, our energy, our vibration would never able to reach to the soul. And that can only happen in the absence of boundaries, because in boundaries that exchange of energy is not that possible. So it is all really a very scientific theory that is going on in the mind. Empathetic are really very wise people to be with. But how it is toxic? It is toxic because, again, empathy, the sole purpose of empathy is to give a very healthy space to be understood, is to give a company, is to give yourself for the person to be understood by you, to be understood in the bold caps, not to be fixed, not to be healed, but to be understood. Healing is a thing. You know how to heal. All the empaths, this is to you. You know how to heal only when the person asks you to do so. So main job of an empath is to give an understanding vibe. And there comes the toxic empathy. They love to fix and heal people. So when fixing and healing becomes your thing, and you don't even ask for permission whether the person wants to be fixed or healed, or whether the person even is accepting that he or she is broken, that is also a thing. If the person denies that there is nothing wrong with that person, and you can clearly see that, there you need to stop. And there comes the boundaries. Yes. So toxic empathy tends to dilute the boundaries so that they can fix the world, they can fix people, they can heal people. But sad story is what happens at the end of the day. They themselves get left with broken pieces of their heart, which most of the time they are themselves responsible for. Sorry, but that is true, because I have been there. Trust me. I have been there. I have done those kind of things when a person literally never asked for help or something like that. And I still just packed my bag and Dora the Explorer and just went for my voyage to fix and heal people. And there came a point when I desperately need fixing and healing in myself, and no one was there. And it's not that people are bad, because people are people and you are you. It's just you need to be really logical about your special features. I get it, empaths are really highly sensitive and emotional people, but at times you need to be logical and rational. And then only you can practice some healthy boundaries by keeping in mind that you are here to understand people. Period. Empaths don't just like to watch a movie. They literally stand in the center of the movie and then they watch it. Empaths are known for absorbing than observing. And this is what makes them really special. I would never look down upon this feature because yes, I call them activated charcoal, to be very honest. They're literally walking active charcoal, which really absorb all the negativity around them in people, their wounds, their traumas. And they absorb it, and God knows in which black hole they just put it. I have experienced this kind of thing in me also. Like, people find some great comfort while talking to an empath. Empath literally, although they tends to be introvert sometimes, most of the time, I never saw a very social butterfly empath. I never saw it. And there is also a reason, because they absorb too much then observe. So yes, empaths really create a surrounding, an aura of extreme comfort. People literally open up to the core, like they literally open their heart. But then again, anything in the world, no matter how pure it is, how good it is, if it's been practiced too much beyond certain boundary, beyond a healthy boundary, then no matter whatever it is, it becomes toxic. The nature, the ecosystem, the thing that we are living in, if logically speaking, it doesn't run on happiness, love, compassion and anything like that. Yes, it is a part of it, but it doesn't run on that. It runs on balance. Whatever you are creating, whatever kind of energies we are creating and manifesting every minute, every second, the minute it crosses some kind of balance, the minute it messes up with the concept of balance, it triggers nature to balance it out by throwing some opposing forces upon it so that it can shut it down. So yes, nature runs on balance, and balance is applied on everything that we do in the daily basis, even in empathy. So healthy empathy still have some psychological distance, like it's a distance between the subject and your psyche, your subconscious. So healthy empathy still have some psychological distance. They still don't literally stand in the center of the movie and then watch the movie. But there comes toxic empathy. Toxic empathy is like extreme absorbing instead of observing, extreme understanding instead of just listening, extreme reading between the lines instead of again just listening. Healthy empaths just listen, while toxic empath They read everything, whatever your body is saying, whatever you are saying, and they'll really absorb it. And sometimes this absorbing thing also become toxic when, while absorbing, you're making up things inside your head, because you don't really recognize a fine line between reading between the lines, between really looking at the facts and then cooking up the stories. When you absorb too much, when you really invested too much into someone's story, you're likely to cook things inside your head. You're likely to make a version of the story inside your head, make the version of the person itself. Because again, empaths and introverts, these kind of people are really imaginative. And most of the problems we face in life, not because of the person, but because of the toxic imagination. The person is saying something else. The person is literally exhibiting its facts. The person is saying everything about itself, like what kind of moral values he or she has, from where, what kind of headspace they belong to. They're literally saying everything. But toxic empath, toxic empathy, not just absorb, but invest itself into imagination also. Like they give you a little fact and you absorb it completely. And then you make a version of it, make a modified, manipulated version of it inside your head. And why it is toxic? Because ultimately the person is not what you made up in your own mind. And that will break your heart. Definitely. And that is why healthy empathy doesn't break your heart. Although empathy, the fate of empathy, if I say, is like a very overwhelming experience. I would not deny that. Empathy in itself is a very intense experience, a very overwhelming experience. Because you really absorb a lot. You really connect with people's wound on a very soul level, on a very emotional level. So anyway, empathy won't feel a very sunshine experience to you, but toxic empathy is the extreme version of it, extreme end of it. In healthy empathy, you're still able to see the person, whatever it is, from where he or she is coming from. You're still able to see. But toxic empathy completely denies the fact. It stands, a toxic empath loves to stand in your movie, and sometimes a toxic empath pretends to be a superhero. Like, oh my god, you're a princess in distress. I don't know if I'm saying it right. The minute toxic empath literally finds you in some kind of a misery, some kind of a uncomfortable experience, traumatizing or a wounded experience, they not only stand in your movie at the center point, but they also pretend like they're superheroes. They have psychological distance in minus, in negative. And that's make it even more toxic. Because again, if you're resonating with the wounds, it's a straight fact that you need healing. And following this logic, if you need healing, then you need to be a superhero of your own movie than to rescue anyone else. Rescue yourself first. Heal yourself first. So, just a suggestion, while listening to anyone's story, watch it from a distance or listen to it from a distance. Distance is always good. Social distancing, you know it. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Hurting brain cell session ends here for now. I will continue doing that. So, that's the video for empathy, toxic empathy. And I hope you like it. And I hope this is to all the empaths. I hope you can resonate with it. And if you find some relatable points, and if you're relating with it, then it means that things need to be fixed over there. So happy fixing and healing to yourself. Happy rejuvenating. I hope you achieve the concept of self-love first, and then you give it to others. And now this is a message to all the energy vampires and narcissists. I would say, please introspect a little. Please deploy some kind of time, some amount of time on yourself. Please, for God's sake. First of all, you haven't acknowledged that you're an energy vampire, a narcissist. This is coming from my heart, literally. I'm not judging you. But in case if you feel like on a regular basis relationships are not working for you, because it's a sign, like people tend to get rid of you at some point, there are high chances that you're an energy vampire. So in case if you get a little idea about it, that you might be an energy vampire, you might be a narcissist, so introspect a little on the daily basis. That is a strong suggestion. Please don't consume people as resources. At some point you would be needing them. Don't tell lies. You don't need anyone. Everyone needs people. Everyone, even the introverts. And that is also a very strong myth about introverts, like they don't need people. Everyone needs people. First of all, get this thing inside your head. So don't consume people's emotion. Don't consume people as resources. Get rid of this habit of consuming. Switch it, replace it with the concept of experiencing. Experience people, experience emotions. Don't consume them. So anyway, again, I was about to say goodbye, but here a little chit chat. And as you see, I'm talking too much because yes, I have been through something. Anks babe has been through something. So hope to see you next time, really soon this time, because I am really thinking to deploy myself into my own path, my own wisdom, my own self-discovery. So yes, see you next time. Bye.